Hey guys, welcome back to the Kind of an Expert podcast, the only podcast where the guest picks the topic of every single episode. My name is Corey Tyndall, and as always, I'm your host. And this week I sat down with New York City comedian Allie O'Neill to talk about religion. Allie grew up super religious up in Boston with her dad being a pastor, classic Irish Catholic growing up, and then her dad became a Protestant member of the church. So it was a wild swing for her. She's got a lot of opinions. She herself used to be super religious. So we talk about her upbringing, what that was like for her, and then religion in a modern way. Where is it going? What happened to the church? So honestly, I think everybody's going to like this episode. Everybody has been to church at some point. If you haven't, what kind of childhood did you have? I don't know. I don't buy that. Anyway, you guys are going to love it. Follow Allie on Instagram at It's Allie O'Neill. Check out her show, NYC is Dead, every month in New York City. Check out her podcast with former guest Brittany Cardwell called Worthless Clowns. That's a very funny podcast. The clips, check them out on her Instagram. And follow me at Corey T Comedy on all social media. Come to Ope, a comedy show every single week at Ferns in the East Village. Allie is on the July 6th show. So if you're in New York City or you're visiting New York City for the 4th of July, come out, get tickets, give us a heads up that you're coming on Instagram, and enjoy this episode of the podcast. Got the nicest apartment ever.
Yeah, it looked like an Urban Outfitters ad.
Okay.
Most controlling man in my entire life.
Wow.
He was fucking crazy. And I'm like, you need to like control everything around you. You know?
Yeah.
And I've talked to other women and they agree. So this is not just my
No. I definitely like to have control. I grew up the oldest sibling. I'm like, but also like I work from home, so I have to look at it all the time. Mm-hmm. And it has taken me 3 years to do this. Like if you were to ask any of my friends who knew me when I was like 8 months into living here, this was not even close to here.
Okay,
I've just, like,
that's a way different thing.
Accumulated stuff, like that map behind you I found on the street. And it's just like, it's a big map. And
it's
the frame,
a huge
too.
map.
Yeah, the frame, the map, all of it.
And
on the street.
frame looks
it's just
great.
Lucky. Other than that, like before that,
wow,
it was just a white wall. So
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like I'm accumulating stuff as I want to accumulate stuff.
Yeah.
The funniest thing that I've noticed with this apartment being nice is that when women come in to do the podcast or just like hang out, they will find something to criticize.
Oh, I was going to criticize that painting.
Yeah.
I think it looks terrible.
Yeah. No, it's $200 on Amazon. I was like...
$200, dude?
Yeah. It's not bad. It
No.
matches the carpet.
I don't even know where to begin.
The last criticism that I had besides this one was a woman came in and noticed that the bananas on the table were a little brown, and she tried to convince me that I should separate my bananas.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh yeah, so when people walk in, I just got bananas all over the fucking place. It's like, no, they can't touch, otherwise they turn brown.
That would be a control issue.
Yes.
Then you would be a major controlling asshole.
That would be fucking nuts. Like, no, this is my bathroom banana. This is, if I let it too close to the kitchen banana, I lose another 48 hours of brown time.
There's a banana on every surface in here.
Yes, that's what, it's like, what do you want from me? This place is fucking perfect.
It's like an Easter egg hunt, but it's a banana.
Really I mean, I know where all the weird shit is, but like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, the closet's a fucking mess. The top of the cabinets.
Okay, that closet
but like,
is not a fucking mess. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well, I just got rid of a bunch of stuff.
Okay, because so my room is like very well designed and like clean and looks good, but if you open any drawer or the closet or anywhere that you can't see from the outside, it's like just all trash.
Okay. I respect it.
I'm like, I fucking work in here. Everything looks nice.
Yeah.
But if you open a drawer, it's just like a bunch of garbage and like shit that I haven't used in mad long that I don't want to throw out.
It's so easy also to clean your apartment when you work from home and you're trying not to work. Like, oh, why would I look at this Excel sheet? I can fucking wipe off the counters or something like. It's just doing anything besides that. So people, it's so nice in here. It's like, yeah, man, I have a lot of time when I'm like trying to not do something else.
I gave my dog a bath today in the middle of my work day. And here's the thing that's funny about
it. Did the dog even need it?
Yeah, she fucking needed it.
Right,
she fucking stinks, dude. She's the stinkiest dog I've ever had in my entire life. And she's like no different than any other pit bull I've ever had. She just reeks for some reason.
Yeah.
And so I think I have to change her food. But, and like the thing about like washing a dog, did you have dogs growing up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you bathed them, did you get in the shower with them naked?
No. We used to.
So you just got wet?
Well,
you got your clothes wet?
So we would sit on the outside of the tub, but then we would rub a bunch of peanut butter on the shower wall, so the dog would just sit there licking the peanut butter.
Yeah.
And then we could kind of like, we had a detachable hose. So
okay.
We were like getting in there on the dog, and the dog hated it, but they loved peanut butter.
Peanut butter,
so
yeah,
dude.
Like, dogs are sluts for peanut butter. It's
big.
insane.
Oh my god, crunchy or smooth, they don't give a fuck.
I know, but like every time I wash my dog, I'm just like naked in the shower, like washing her, and then I'm like, we're both naked right now. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm like this all the time. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Do you take her collar off? You're like, whoa,
dude, I literally did that today.
Yeah, everybody does that.
I was like, you look so naked.
Everyone says big stretch when they're stretching, and everyone says it's naked time when the collar comes off.
It's naked time.
It's naked time. Oh, don't let the dog out. She's naked.
Somebody arrest this dog for public indecency. She doesn't have a collar on.
She like runs in the yard and a mother like shields her child dies.
Fucking cop comes out, like puts her in the fucking back of a cruiser. It's like, you're going to jail, asshole. There's kids in this neighborhood.
Wraps a towel around it.
Yeah,
like, you're a goddamn animal.
Puts a fig leaf over her beehole. Yeah.
Over her butt. Not even
the neck.
The butt.
Yeah. It's like the idea of taking the collar off makes you see their asshole more.
Yeah. It does. It
makes it more prominent.
That's really funny, actually.
It's so fucking dumb, dude.
I love it. Oh, so this episode's about a religion.
Yeah, I know. What a tangent, huh?
The church condones dog butts.
Dog nudity.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, did I use condones right? No,
condones?
That's the good one, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of condones?
Condemn.
Thank you. That is a religious word.
Yeah.
There you go.
There
you got that. You have experience with
kind
condemning
of an expert.
things. You got experience with condemning things. You condemn a lot in your day.
Oh, dude, fucking! I've been so condemned. I'm like an old house that has roaches.
You mean a standard New York apartment?
Yeah. Oh. Dude, if fucking the people that I grew up with knew the way that I lived. It's fucking.
Let's get into it. Yeah. Well, let's give the backstory.
Okay.
You gave me like the Spark Notes like 10-second version.
All right. So I grew up really religious.
Okay.
Because my parents got divorced when I was like a year old. Right?
Early.
Yeah. So it was my fault. And then
100%.
Yeah, I know. I have a theory that they were like fighting and then like fucked to make up. So I was like conceived during angry sex, which is why I'm like this.
I like that theory.
That's my like super villain origin story.
Yeah. I love it. All right.
And so they got divorced like a year after I was born, and then my dad went through like a midlife crisis, and then like left for a couple of years, and then came back, and he
left for where?
He was just not around.
Just the other side of Boston.
Yeah, literally in the same state.
I know.
We just didn't see him.
I know a comic whose dad left, but he literally moved down the street.
Yeah,
he just wasn't allowed to see him, or he'd see him randomly in the grocery store.
That is the worst.
Like, hey, Dad. He'd be like, hey,
he's
son.
like, actually, it's Jim. You call me Jim now.
Right. I was like, oh, dude, that would be fucking brutal. He's like, yeah, man.
Fucking rough.
Not great.
I know. Ugh. Yeah, because you always see in movies people like travel, like going on a road trip to meet their like estranged father, and then they show up and it's like not what they expected, and it's like, but what if you just had to go a few blocks? You could confront him whenever you want, but then it would probably be harder to confront him.
Yeah. Yes, depending on how old you were. Like if he walked out when you were like 16 and then moved down the block, you'd be like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
I
dude?
know, yeah.
But as a kid,
Yeah.
then there would be like some sort of like barrier in your mind.
And also you wouldn't have the ability to like create this idea of who your dad is in your head.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big thing about like finding your, like, I don't know, people who are like adopted and they have to like find their parents. They like have this idea of who they are. But if you just see him at the grocery store, you're just like, yeah, he just fucking has basketball shorts on now. Yeah. He loves grapes.
He's just a big old bag. He's like eating them in the store. He can't help himself.
I know 2 things about my father. It's that he loves grapes and he doesn't want to be around me.
Yeah. What more do you need to know?
I know.
mean, you pretty much get the scope of a man just from those 2 things.
Oh God, men are so simple. Anyway, so I grew up religious, and then so my dad went through like a midlife crisis, married another lady who's my stepmom still,
Okay.
and then
The second one worked.
yeah.
Okay.
But they also have like a weird relationship, which I can get into a little bit later.
Sure.
But so he like so he grew up like Catholic. My mom grew up like Irish Catholic.
Okay.
My dad grew up Irish Catholic, and then like they weren't like super into the religion. They were just like, I don't know, they were just like fucking Catholics who don't really care about like their religion that much. Like their parents really cared about it, but like they were just like, I don't know, I fucking got confirmed and then went to church once a week to make my dad happy or whatever.
Right.
And so then he like went through this crisis or whatever and then became an Anglican pastor.
Anglican pastor.
And so
is that like rooted in like Anglo-Saxon, like Old English pastor type? Okay.
Yeah. So basically there's like, okay, in Christianity there's like Catholicism and then Protestantism.
Yep.
Catholicism is kind of like all the same across the board. They have like the Pope and whatever.
Yep.
And then also there's Eastern Orthodox, but that's a whole nother can of worms that I can't talk about. Because
no?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, all right. Not like you're wanted by the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Yeah.
Or like...
I don't think that big Eastern Orthodox is gonna like come and get me.
I mean, Malaysia's trying to arrest Jocelyn Chia these days. So.
Oh yeah,
Did you
I
hear
fucking
about that?
saw that, but I don't even know what happened. But
Quick tangent. You
Please.
guys, listeners should Google this because it is wild. There's a comedian, Jocelyn Chia. I don't know if you know her, but she's
at the Cellar, right?
Yeah, she's Singaporean, and Singapore used to be part of Malaysia, but it kind of broke off. Singapore is now a very rich country, and they kind of left Malaysia behind. It would essentially be like if New York was like, see ya, United States, we're going to be an ultra wealthy city-state, and the rest of you could be fucking poor.
Yeah, but the reason why they became super wealthy is because they just became super authoritarian.
Yes.
And they were like, you can't do anything wrong, and also you have to move out of your house because we're building like a road here.
Yeah.
It was like, it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That's like also what happened in China, whatever, it doesn't matter. But
Yes. But either way, the Malaysians hate the Singaporeans.
yeah.
And in Jocelyn's set, she was doing crowd work and realized someone from Malaysia was in the crowd. And so was making jokes at her. And then one of the jokes didn't work. And so she said, the quote was like, "Oh, that joke didn't land," kind of like that airplane. And now this is an international incident. This is like the one of the head diplomats of Singapore apologized for Jocelyn Chia, and Malaysia just contacted Interpol to get real-time data on Jocelyn Chia's all of her information and where she is in real time, which is hilarious because we're like, just check the Comedy Cellar's website.
I know.
Stupid.
Yeah. Go to her fucking Instagram page.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. It's like so easy to stalk comics if you need to. But
she put it on TikTok and it blew up in Malaysia, so everyone hated her, and it had the Comedy Cellar logo.
Oh no!
So then they review bombed the Comedy Cellar, and they review bombed West Side Comedy Club because she also had clips from there, and then TikTok took it down as hate speech. But now she's getting way more gigs in America because she's on the BBC. She's in New York Times. She's Associated Press. Like, it's fucking everywhere. And she literally was like, "Oh, I don't give a fuck. I'm making way more money now."
Yeah.
I was like, good for you.
That's so crazy,
Part
dude.
of me wants Malaysia to have her
extradited.
Extradited.
No,
Yes,
extradited is not the word.
extradited.
No, that's
It
when
is.
that's when you like ship something really fast.
No, that's expedited.
Oh.
Extradited.
Oh, I was
you
right.
Were right. You were right. Yeah, I almost said expedited, and then I knew I was wrong. I want her to be arrested, like extradited to Malaysia, because
That would be incredible.
be the funniest thing, and every comic in the world would start making jokes about Malaysia.
Absolutely.
They can't arrest all of us.
Also, the fact that the thing that like really like got Malaysia mad was like that they can't find an airplane.
Yeah, right.
And so they're like, not our fucking airplanes. Don't talk about our fucking airline that way.
How dare you point at a plane we covered up? Like
The pride of Malaysia,
Yeah, right.
Malaysian Airlines. Don't talk shit about them.
all right, that was a quick tangent.
Anyway,
religion.
back to Christianity.
Anyway, dogs' butts and
Dogs' assholes. You can see them more when their collars are off.
they illuminate.
Yeah, I know. No, my dog's collar goes around her asshole. I don't know what kind of collars.
Your dog's collar is a butt plug. It's
Dude,
just,
there's so many.
It's just her address dangling out of her asshole.
And it says Betty Boop and then my phone number dangling out of her asshole. There's so many like dog clothes that look like sex clothes. Okay, because I saw this like snowsuit for a dog
Okay.
where it's like it covers
the nipples
all,
cut out.
it has the asshole cut out.
Oh my god.
So it's like these pants and then these front. It's like if you had a onesie and then just cut out here. And I'm like, it looks like somebody wants to fuck that dog.
Where do I buy one?
You don't even have to look up bestiality porn. You can go on Amazon.com and then type in dog snowsuit and then see these like crotchless snowsuits for dogs.
A photo of a dog wearing one where he's like looking backwards.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
are you looking at?
And then
you gonna come and get it?
a lot of the photos, they put like an emoji over the asshole. And then you're like, why am I mad that it's covering it?
Is it a kissy emoji? Just
Yeah. It's usually like a flower or something.
Oh, okay. All right. That's cute.
Yeah, I guess.
So
Anyway.
I knew we'd be off topic because none of our conversations have ever stayed on one topic at a time, but this is way worse than I thought it would
I know, I'm so sorry.
No, keep going. I keep interrupting you. So keep going.
No, it's fine. We have to talk about dogs' assholes like once every 10 minutes.
It's a part of this podcast.
Okay, so I grew up really religious because my dad became like an Anglican pastor like when he was like 40 or whatever. And like Protestantism is kind of like a spectrum. And so there's like all different
Like
kinds.
autism.
Like autism, exactly like that. So there's like the really intense, like super like conservative, like shitty Protestants.
Yeah.
And then there's like the more hippy dippy, like Episcopalians who are
Right.
like, we let women be pastors and
Yeah.
we'll
Pride
marry gay
flags
people.
in the church.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Exactly.
That's the church that I went to growing up.
Oh, really?
Was the like, well, my parents were not in a good place, so they were like, we need to give the kids religion before we divorce. And as soon as they divorced,
Yeah.
we quit going.
How
So
old were
it's
you when
like
they divorced?
9.
Oh, that's a tough age.
Yeah, wasn't my favorite.
And you were the oldest.
Yeah.
So you remember it the most.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God,
all
yeah.
of it, baby.
Oh shit, that's crazy. Yeah, my brother remembers it. My older brother does.
Okay.
But then I don't remember shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so like at my uncle's funeral, like probably like 7 years ago, we saw my mom and my dad in the same room for the first time
Shit.
and like interacting.
Yeah.
And then they hugged.
Whoa.
And then I was talking to my brother after, and I was like, that was fucking weird. And he was like, I thought it was sweet. And I was like, oh no, you remember too much. You remember too much.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my dad, Anglicanism is like the first church that was created out of Protestantism. It was
Okay.
created by like Henry VIII, so he didn't have to kill more of his wives. So he could divorce his wife.
Okay.
So Anglicanism is actually really, really similar to Catholicism, except for they don't have like the same kind of structure that Catholicism has. Like
Interesting.
they don't have like a pope or whatever.
Sure.
But like a lot of it is very like similar. And so then when I was growing up, my dad is like one of those people where you can only communicate with him on his level. You know? So
Okay.
he's not very good at like doing like back and forth. So like and at the time I didn't know that I was doing this. This is just only like in hindsight. But like I basically became like super religious so I could like hang out with my dad more. And my dad loved it. My dad
I'm
loved
sure.
it a lot.
Okay.
And so like I like went to church like every week. Also at this time I was like incredibly goth.
Okay.
So I was like this goth.
You were
Like-
an anomaly.
Yeah, like so like on the weekends, like when I was not in church, I would be like fucking 12 years old, like smoking weed, getting
Yeah.
fingered, dyeing my hair pink, listening
Hell
to My
yeah.
Chemical Romance,
Fuck yeah.
like lighting fires in the woods. And then on Sunday, I would go to church and then I'd be like a Sunday school teacher. I literally was a Sunday school teacher, and you're like probably being like, how could anybody let you near their kids?
No.
And then I'm like, well, those people let their kids near priests. So they aren't fucking smart about anything.
Is that? No, I bet the church was like super excited because they were like, she's going to connect with the weird ones who really need religion.
I don't think that. I
No?
honestly
They
don't
didn't
think
have
about.
the
I don't think that they
foresight for
think
that
about
one?
it like that.
Okay.
I think they're just like either they love Jesus or they don't. Like there's no like.
Wow.
The problem with my church is that there was like very little like empathy and understanding. So I don't
Okay.
think that they think about it in that way.
Okay.
You know.
So when you say you became super religious, do you mean from like a intellectual standpoint or more of a spiritual standpoint or both? Like, did you learn about religion to talk to your dad, or was it more like
dude.
you really felt it because you felt like that is what you needed to do with your life?
Well, I think so. I learned a lot about it, and I still have a lot of information about like I know so much about the fucking like Bible and
Oh,
like the
I bet.
like just everything and like how the church works and like all of like the philosophies behind the things that you do in church. Like I know
Sure.
all of that shit, and like my dad was learning that at the same time, so he would just like regurgitate it to me. And so I was like, yeah, this is cool. We're talking and connecting.
Yeah, right?
But at the time, like I grew up like both of my parents grew up Catholic. So like all of that weird like guilt religious stuff is like still kind of instilled in you.
Okay, sure.
And so like I don't think I ever like really truly spiritually connected with like the religion. I think that I just had anxiety.
Yeah. I
And
could
so
see that.
I was like, I can't do bad things because then I'll go to hell. You know what I mean? And like that is
Yeah.
a very powerful force if you can't differentiate those things.
It is funny. I was actually just talking about that with someone because they were saying like the thing with their anxiety was if they couldn't figure out what was making them anxious, their brain automatically went to like God hates me. And that is kind of a thing with people with generalized anxiety is because it is generalized. There is no specific thing.
Yeah.
You kind of point to like some higher power is fucking with me.
Well, it's
like
because-
either vibes are off,
Yeah.
the fucking stars are off, my horoscope's off, God's off. Like
Yeah.
I'm convinced that every like religion and thought pattern is just driven based on anxiety, but
I think that that's why every religion was created.
yeah.
Not like because people like have anxiety, but it's just like okay, so things like anxiety and like other kinds of mental illness, like they are like at their root they're irrational, and that's what makes them an
Yeah.
illness. You know what I mean? And so then you can't like apply reason to it. So then you have to have this other thing that has all this like mystery around it where like there is no explaining like how these things like exist because like God, you can't get into God's head because he's just like so much like smarter than us.
Yeah.
So it's like I think that people who have that shit kind of like connect to that because they're like, oh well, if I can't explain it like within myself, if I can't self-soothe, then I go to this thing, you know?
Sure. Yeah. I do think part of anxiety is like a survival tactic, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're out in the woods and you're not anxious about being eaten, maybe you don't build a hut as quickly as possible. But if
Yeah.
you're very anxious about but that's a useful form of anxiety.
Yeah.
Where like I think you're right. People that had like kind of generalized anxiety, they just needed a structure, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to know that whatever happened, they were going to be okay.
Yeah, no, totally.
And that's kind of like I don't blame them, really. I don't.
No.
So many people, especially in New York, and I want your opinion on this, are so anti-religion.
I
Like
know.
they see no good in it.
Mm-hmm.
They see no, and I was like, I don't think you guys realize that, like. The reason Joe Rogan is so big is because young men don't go to church anymore.
Yes. Oh my God.
He's,
yes.
like
no, fucking 100%,
they need
dude.
something.
Yes.
and they don't have anything,
And that's why
so they
everybody's
listen
into
to
astrology.
Elon Musk. Yeah, astrology. Yes, it's all a reaction to like.
Yes.
Well, somebody's got to tell me what to do because I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. I'm not trying to make fun of them.
Yeah.
It's just like that's how humans work.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything wrong with religion, like, in general. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with Christianity in general. I think that, like, there's a lot of people who fucking, like, there's a lot of people who, like, use it for bad, and that's an issue.
Yes.
You know? But it's like, if you have, like, a personal relationship with God and it, like, helps you be a good person, there's a lot of, like, religious people who do, like, a lot of, like, really cool, helpful shit for society.
And they all wear khakis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, like, or they're wearing, like, it's like a lady with, like, red frizzy hair and, like, a peasant skirt on.
Yeah.
And then some kooky glasses.
Yes.
And, like, really long,
Oh
like,
my God.
necklaces.
Now
yeah.
I'm horny. All right.
We gotta get back to dogs'
Yeah,
assholes.
we gotta get back to dogs' assholes.
You're gonna have to take a cold shower after this ep.
Oh God.
But yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
that there's anything like the church that I grew up in sucked. Like
Sure.
it was awful. Like they were very like they were like super duper right wing. Like growing up, my dad would always be like, women can't be president, gays are fake, women shouldn't go into the military, everything's a sin. Like it was all
Yeah.
like so weirdly conservative in like a way that is like not you can't even function as that kind of conservative
Yeah,
like
no.
in this world anymore.
It doesn't work.
And also my dad himself is like I think he is like I don't know. I think my dad's a little autistic.
A little bit.
Yeah, because
Okay.
he gets like really really obsessed with things, and also I'm so sorry if anybody's autistic and listening. I might be completely wrong about this. But my dad is using his autism for bad. That's the thing.
Oh, no.
He's using it for bad. He's using his autism for evil.
Is he getting like free baseball tickets or something?
No. He just knows everything about the Bible, and then also
He
like
obsessed about the wrong thing.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
And he's like also an Alex Jones level like survivalist. He has like MREs and distilled water in his
Oh
basement.
my God.
And he is a member of the NRA, and he like teaches like gun
Sure.
classes and shit.
Okay.
He's like so right wing in like every way.
So
and
that,
like
that hug that he did with your mom was extra hard.
yeah, I know exactly. He's like, don't fucking forget. He wanted to make sure that my mom knew that he was like he was strapped. So then he pulled her in
shit.
real close.
Yeah. No, I meant like he just couldn't, like it was too much emotion.
Oh God.
Freak out.
You mean like of mice and men?
Yeah. Not like Crusher.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
not all of them can land, folks. My bad. Okay.
Where the fuck was I going
He
with this?
gets obsessed with
He's
certain
really
things,
obsessed
is
with
what
a
you're
lot of
saying.
stuff.
Okay.
He was obsessed with karate. He was obsessed with weather
man.
patterns.
I love a
He
good
was
weather
obsessed
pattern.
with the Cars, the band.
Okay.
He like goes
Not
through
a bad
phases.
band.
No,
Not the best.
it's like real middle of the road.
It's dad music.
Dude, listen, if Best Buy uses your most famous song, I'm not going to say that you're a good band. Okay?
Why you shouldn't have Best Buy?
Because what is good about Best Buy?
I got this camera at Best Buy.
Oh,
They
cool.
sponsor
I guess
the
you got just what
podcast.
you needed.
No, they did. They had exactly past rows of CDs.
You're
that
like,
are
I
never gonna
hope
be
they have
sold.
what I need. It's a store.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just mad about Best Buy, and I'm going to die on this hill, even though I really don't have any opinions about it.
no.
But now I'm just stuck here.
You're not on a podcast because you have no opinions.
I know, yeah.
People want us to have opinions.
Yeah. Okay, but fucking religion stuff. Yeah, so I like taught Sunday school. I was like confirmed. I was like heavy deep in the church.
Okay.
And then I left because they were preaching like really terrible shit, and I'd had enough.
How old were you when you realized how terrible the stuff they were preaching is?
I was like probably like 19.
So pretty late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because also it was like, okay, so when I was like in high school and middle school, I was going to church every week.
Okay.
And then I went to community college, and I was like still home, so I was like going to church, but I wasn't like as heavy into it because I was like working all the time, and I had
Sure.
like more shit going on.
Yeah, you're 19. Who has time for
Yeah.
fucking church?
And then I went to real college, and then came back, and like after, like also I was like really politically liberal like the entire time.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And like I was just like kind of disagreeing with it, but then like I started like learning about how this shit's like actually bad. Like I was really like good at disconnecting all of this shit and being like, yeah, I don't agree with what they're saying over here, but I believe this, so it's like fine.
Okay.
And so then they started saying like really insane shit about Muslims, and I was like, okay, I can't fucking deal with this anymore. Like this is insane.
What year was that?
That was probably okay. So I was 19. So it was probably
1980.
Fuck off. Fuck right off. I know I got a lot of miles on me, but fucking relax.
You look great for 43.
I'm 27. No, I was fucking. It was probably like fucking. It was probably like 2013 or something. I don't know.
That's about right. And it was like that was right about the time that that gay marriage was being legalized.
That was 2015, yeah.
Well, there was like the movement was kind of starting, and I think the churches kind of felt like, oh fuck, like things are changing.
Yeah, as soon as like any like minority group starts getting like things that they deserve. They like the church is
Whoa, no political crazy talk.
The
on
church
this
is
podcast.
like no, and then they like fucking. It's insane.
It is.
You know, like everybody's like remember when fucking Kid Rock shot up all those Bud Light cans?
Awesome.
That's how the church reacts to literally everything.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we can't have drag near schools and shit like that. That's what all that shit is now.
Yeah. Yeah, they really kind of focused in on trans and drag for right now, but
yeah, I don't know what it is about. I think it's just because drag is like having a moment because of RuPaul's Drag Race.
No, well, yes, I think that's part of it. My theory is that it turns a lot of the conservative men on, and they don't like it. I think they're horny and they feel confused.
That's a very interesting.
And so they're like, no, not in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then like, but really they're just like, I'd fuck that man.
Yeah, and also
if you really asked them,
here's
they'd
the
fuck
other
that
thing.
man.
A lot of those politicians do fuck those men.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
do.
Like every fucking senator who has like an anti-gay bill is like found like slobbing on knobs in a bathroom in a gay club all the time, dude.
You know who says. Like, the people who are like, yeah, have your rights are the ones who truly don't care.
I know, yeah.
Like,
it's like, what are you so fucking mad about?
Why would you not have your rights? Well, that's, okay. So I do want to get into, like, modern religion and where it's at and, like, get your opinions on that. But I also, like, do you have more of, like, backstory that you want? Or is that kind of where it, like, after college, you just kind of realized how fucked it was?
Yeah, I realized how fucked it was and then like stopped going, and now I go like once a year. I go on Christmas Eve with my brother because it's like the big whatever.
Yeah.
And
Catholic?
No, it's to my dad's dad's church, the Anglican church.
Yeah.
And my brother and I have this nice little also ever since like I stopped being religious, like my relationship with my dad has been incredibly tense.
Yeah.
Because he was like, you were into it. And now you're not anymore.
It was a phase,
I don't get it. Yeah, and then he's like, well, now I don't know what to talk to you about.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know you as a person. And so on Christmas Eve, my brother and I, we like go have dinner with my dad and my stepmom, and then we go to church after. And then on the way from my dad's house to the church, my brother and I get like really drunk and high in the car, and then we sit in the back of the church and we make fun of my dad the whole time.
Hell yeah!
While he's like being a pastor and shit. We're like, dude, Dad's doing the fucking most right now.
That's so Boston. I fucking love that. Oh my god!
I know, fucking me and my brother, who, by the way, my brother is a white man with dreadlocks.
Okay.
Sitting in the back of the church, just like faded out of our minds, being like, dude, that's such a fucking nerd. Like the whole time.
You think he believes this shit?
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, Dad's like really. He's like body of Christ, bread of heaven. He's like doing the most over here. Oh God, it's so fun. It's very sweet.
That would be fun. I mean, this has been well established, but like the funniest moments in life are you fucking around with your siblings in church.
Oh,
because it is
100%.
And then your dad like gives you a look like that was really funny, but also shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
or, like, not your dad because he's up there.
Up
You're
there.
making fun of him, but like My dad is like, my brother and I would just like, we would just like whisper under our breath, just the stupidest, just like little noises, just like little, where like anyone who heard it would be like, what the fuck, was that a cat?
Yeah,
And,
I know.
like, my dad is like, he understands.
Yeah, he understands that it's funny,
And
yeah.
then my stepmom, who was really Catholic at the time, is like losing her
She's like,
goddamn
these
mind.
boys.
And it's like, yeah. She's like, I don't know why I
They're
moved across
going
the
to-
country for these boys. No, she was cool. She got it too. Like,
Yeah.
But okay, that's a wild outbreak. So you're not religious now. Okay, because
I do have a lot of religious
I
tattoos,
do
though.
have to call you out.
I know.
The last
Look
time
at
we were
this-
hanging
look at this
out, you
guy.
had the full Virgin Mary.
I know.
On your arm.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, are you super religious? You're like, what do you fucking think I'm super religious? And I was like, well, you have the Virgin Mary tattooed on your arm. Pardon me. And then you're like, I used to be super religious. I'm like, all right, cool. I was a couple years off. Like,
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, this is why I like...
made me feel like I was a fucking idiot.
I know.
was
Well,
like,
that's just my personality, is making everybody around me feel like they're a fucking idiot for making basic assumptions that would make sense.
basic logical
Yeah.
assumptions.
And so... Well,
Well,
okay.
Didn't you? Well, it started because you were like, yeah, everyone says my Virgin Mary
Looks like
tattoo
Elvis.
looks like Elvis.
And it does.
It does.
It does look like
yeah,
Elvis.
once you said it, I was like, oh, yeah, no.
Dude, I've had
Pretty
multiple
accurate.
people like be like, I didn't know you liked Elvis so much. And like, I'm like, it's not Elvis. And it doesn't connect with them that it's somebody else. And they're like, oh, who is it? And I'm like, the Virgin Mary.
I never
and then
would've
they're
guessed
like,
it was the
oh
Virgin
my
Mary.
fucking God.
Never would have guessed that.
It's like, this is like one of the Stations of the Cross. It's like a famous thing. It's
I'll
called Our
believe
Lady
you.
of Sorrows. But the reason why like I connect with Catholicism is because, or not like the religion, but like the shit around it, is because like I grew up, like my whole family was Catholic, and it's like a cultural thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to like be part of the religion because like, I don't know, we're fucking Irish Roman Catholic. So if you go in my room, dude, when I bring dudes home, there's so much weird religious shit in there. I have like my memes, like fucking like crucifix, and then I have a
Wow.
bunch of like prayer candles, and I have like paintings of saints and stuff.
That's awesome.
But it's also, okay, so it's partially the cultural thing of being like Irish Roman Catholic, and also because I used to be goth, religious
Sure.
shit like
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of hits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very, I mean, that was the whole like Gothic,
Yeah.
like the Gothic church was like,
Yes.
is the staple of that
Exactly.
sort of thing. For
Yeah.
Christmas one year, we got my mom a prayer candle, except instead of Jesus, it was Dave Grohl. And she still
I have one of
has
those,
it.
but it's Steve Buscemi.
There you go. See? Yeah. That's,
And then I also have a coaster that my friend got me of Jesus holding a beer and smoking a cigarette.
hell yeah. Jesus is sick, bro.
Dude, Jesus rules. Jesus is way cooler. I forget that Bible passage, but I gotta go back and read it. Maybe it's in the
I do
Apocrypha.
love, I don't know if you've kept up with what the church is trying to do, but like the church is really adopting disc golf now.
What?
Disc golf.
Why?
Because it's free, one. It gets people outside, and all these church grounds have so much land, so they're like, oh, I'll put some
Yeah.
fucking pins in there or whatever. So
Yeah.
they're trying to get kids to like go play disc golf, but the main people who disc golf are stoners. And so they're having this huge issue where like stoners are talking to these packs full of like children
kids
that
and
are like,
recruiting
and they're
them?
just like, yeah, they're getting.
They're like, dude,
It's the funniest dynamic. So like you can see who's in church and then who is like
I
a
know.
real disc golf guy. It's so awesome. I'm like, man, they'll never make Jesus cool, will
No,
they?
absolutely
They're gonna
not.
make disc golf lamer than it already is.
I know.
It's like I love disc golf. Don't get me wrong. I
there's
fucking
like,
love it. But
there's
like
a fucking stoner going over and being like, I can tell that the way that you love disc golf is like us. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, leave that fucking church youth group. Come over, put on this drug rug, and never shower again.
if God didn't want to smoke you, didn't want you to smoke weed, why would He put it on the earth, man?
Exactly.
That's what you got. And like one 11-year-old just goes, whoa.
I know. Oh god, that's insane. Fucking good for them. The way that like have you been have you seen these like Christian influencers?
Oh yeah.
They're
not
fucking
on
nuts.
my feed. I normally get on TikTok. I get the stitches of those.
Yeah.
I actually get more Mormon TikToks than Christian
You
TikTok, just
have a-
because they're so wild that I'm like, I'm watching these.
But you have a Mormon face.
all right, come on.
I'm not joking, bitch.
What's-
You like
Rude.
seem like no, I don't think this is a bad thing.
You can see my ankles. I'm not wearing pajamas. I'm not wearing the other layer. See this fucking.
You're just so like white and like maybe Norwegian or something.
Yeah.
That like it seems Mormon.
That's not Mormon.
You know but that's what I think of when I think of Mormons is like
They're very white.
they also
Yeah.
for some reason I think of Mormons all being tall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know the height of Mormons.
I think
Hold
they're
on,
all
let me
tall.
line them up.
Also,
And,
I'm 5'1", so everybody's
sure,
tall. So
everybody's
maybe
tall.
that's the problem.
You know what's funny? It's funny that you bring up like my ancestry or whatever because I'm actually related to the people that first came over on the Mayflower
Whoa.
to escape from the king who was persecuting them for being religious.
Protestant.
Being Protestant.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
That's bananas.
that's my fucking religious
There
history.
you go.
And then at this point, like nobody in my family's super religious.
Yeah.
Yeah, my family's been here forever.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
My mom's from Ireland, but my dad grew up
Okay.
here. My dad was born here.
Okay.
And so, but they're all Irish. Everybody's fucking Irish.
Yeah, everybody. You guys didn't leave the East Coast.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we only made it to Michigan, so it's not like we made it that far. But like,
Did you guys like start walking when the Mayflower landed, and then by the time you were born, they were just in Michigan?
No, I don't know. So the Ancestry.com like thing essentially said like my family's lived somewhere between New York City and Michigan for the entirety of our lineage, and then my mom is from like Czechoslovakia or whatever, not from there, but like that family side
Is from gotcha.
Eastern European trash.
Okay.
And,
Yep.
So they're like, we know which one of them made it over. So they've only lived in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was the religious persecution. So at one point, my family members were those like crazy conservative.
We're my dad.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel for your dad. I understand.
Dude, another thing about my dad is he thinks that it's like everybody's coming for Christians all the time.
Yeah.
And like, okay, do you remember when all those church shootings happened? Like there was like a year when all those
like
church
3 or 4 of them real quick.
happened like real close to each other. And I don't know about all of them, but I remember like the biggest one that like everybody was talking about was a
South
black church.
Carolina? Yeah.
And so like some white kid went in and shot up this black church. My dad took that as there's an attack on churches. So now every time I go to church with him, which is always New Year's, fucking Christmas Eve, he's like, okay, I reserved this seat over here by the door so you can escape if there's an active shooter. My dad wants there to be an active shooter so bad. And I know for a fact, I don't have any evidence.
Make his day.
I know for a fact, I have no evidence of this, that he probably is strapped under his robes because he wants to be a hero so bad.
I think as a birthday gift, you need to like bust into
an
the church.
active shooter situation.
like just like pretend to break in. Don't have guns or anything. Just like ski mask and just like yell, everybody put him up and
Yeah.
just see what he would do.
Yeah, oh my
And then
God.
when he doesn't do anything, you're like, happy birthday.
Yeah.
And, like,
Dude, my dad is so intense about that shit. I remember one time when I was like 12, he's like a big gun nut guy.
Sure.
And so I remember one time when I was 12, he was talking about like self-defense and like, he lives in Rhode Island, which is like a pretty liberal state.
Yeah.
But he has like a ton of guns. He has like, I probably don't even know how many he has because he has
Okay.
like his secret ones just in case.
Sure.
And so he was like getting all worked up about like protecting his home and shit. And he's like,
Nobody's going
if
to
somebody,
Rhode Island.
he's like, if somebody's going to come in my house and rape my wife, I am dying or I'm going to jail. And he was like, we were like having dinner at Chili's and he's like standing up and screaming this. He's like, if somebody's going to come in my house and rape my fucking wife. And I was like 12. He's like so insane.
Oh my God.
It's really stuck with me.
Yeah, that was.
Can you believe I remember that?
No, I don't know. That was a little bit surprising that one stuck with you.
He's a crazy boy.
Well, I can't imagine why you moved down to the city.
I fucking know,
And,
dude. He's insane.
Oh man! All right. So before we like have to name this episode Allie's dad, the kind of an expert title. I want to hear your takes on like modern religion. So like,
Okay.
not like more in the general sense because we got like what 20 minutes left, and I'm
Okay.
sure we could get back into stories and stuff. But I'm truly interested in what you think is happening with religion now and where can it go? Like that's the
Yeah.
part where I'm like, oh man, does this shit ever come back or does it just get replaced until society falls and it comes back inevitably. I don't know.
Well, okay, so you have like, well, I think that every religion is different in terms of like how it's going to survive through the generations. I feel like that, like in Islam and in Judaism, there's a huge like cultural component to the religion, right?
Fair.
So that there's a lot of people who identify as Jewish or identify as Muslim who don't necessarily like really believe it, but they like continue on with all of the traditions because it's like a huge part of their identity in that way.
Yeah,
you
almost
know?
every New York Jew that
Exactly.
I've met
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, we do the holidays, but
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I'm not
Or they're like,
praying.
well, I
And
have
then
to
they do the
marry a
funeral.
Jewish girl.
Right.
Like, it's something
Right.
like that. So, like,
most of the time they're like, well, I don't have to, but then they do it anyway just to like appease their mother. and then
exactly.
it's-
Yeah. And so I think that those things have, like, more longevity in terms of, like, maybe not the religion itself being around, but by, like, the culture being around, you know?
Where's that line?
What do you mean?
Like the line between religion and culture, right? Like if
Well, I was about to
culturally
say that,
Jewish
like-
people are around for millennia, but then nobody practices anything, is it still a religion?
Well, then I think it's a culture, but also the culture is built around this like philosophy and religion, and like if nobody like really believes it, like there's always going to be like people who are like super into it, and I think that's why you see these like all of these like religious cults coming up, like you know the Duggars from 19 Kids and Counting.
Sure. Yeah.
They're part of a Christian sect that like has this philosophy called like Quiverful, where
Just like have as many kids as possible.
yes.
Okay.
And so it's like you're literally training like these kids to carry on the religion.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're always going to have those people. But I think that Christianity is a little bit different than like Judaism and Islam in that like it doesn't have that heavy cultural component. And I
Okay.
don't know what it is about it. I think like Eastern Orthodox, it definitely does. But like Catholicism and Protestantism, I don't think has that same like cultural element to it. Because I think like a lot of people who came here like to America, like just wanted to assimilate. And since like the religion of America at the time, and probably still is like Christianity, they didn't have to like really hold on to it in the way that like Jews and Muslims had to.
I was actually going to ask if you think that's kind of reversed. Like the culture of Christianity is now Americanism.
But yeah, I mean, that could definitely be true. Because it's like, I mean, that is a huge part of it where it's like fucking like in God we trust and shit
Right.
like that. Even though it's supposed to be separated. And like the people who
never
are,
was.
I know, it
They
never
put it
fucking
on the
was.
goddamn money.
I know, yeah. They were like, we want religious freedom from the people that we escaped from, but if you're different than us, then fuck you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the like I kind of agree like Christianity around the world doesn't have the same culture, but American Christianity is kind of its own culture in and of itself, where it's like
Yeah.
Christmas is very consumer driven.
Yeah.
It's not spiritual. What are some other holidays? Like this?
Easter.
I mean, do people even really care about Easter
Dude,
anymore?
Easter is the most important Christian holiday.
I'm aware that like scripture from the scripture, like
Yeah.
yes, it is, but also like I don't even get it off work, which like
Well, it's always a Sunday.
I get
so-
Juneteenth off work. You telling me that's a more important day now? I would argue it is, but like
Hey, that guy came back. That guy came back.
Yeah, it's true. But no, like the very like the stuff that the right on the political spectrum is trying to use
Yeah.
as leverage for getting more money into politics is we don't need to talk about that. Is the
You're like, all of my conservative listeners are getting really
Yeah,
upset
right?
right now.
but like trying to say like, oh no, there's family values, we can't do trans, or like no, guns are a big part of. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
half of the people that go to church are big into like guns have become sort of a Christian symbol in the
Yeah.
United States, and it's just, I guess it's like what I'm wondering is like where is the line between what's a religious culture and what's an American culture, because it kind of blurs.
No, that's true. And I can't really speak to like Judaism and Islam in the same way that we're speaking about this because I'm not as familiar, but I'm sure that there are like rituals and like shit like that in Islam and Judaism that are like not necessarily a part of the religion specifically. Like in the Bible, it doesn't say you need guns.
Right.
but like it may have come from like a culture in a place where the religion was big, and then it just like became a part of the religion.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like kind of like absorbing the shit. And like I think that you're absolutely right that this weird like all of these like politicians being like we can't have gay marriage because it's like against my religion and shit.
Yeah.
You know?
They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They're
Which
just
is
trying to get
insane
elected.
because it's like I don't know. It's just bananas to me that they make that fucking argument because it's like other people doing it. And it's like, that'd be like if a Muslim person was like, well, nobody can eat pork because it's against my religion. You know what I mean? It's like, then you just don't eat pork. Like that's
Right.
what you guys have been fucking doing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the issue with culture, right? Like you get the counterculture where it's like, oh no, everyone does this in our place because that's our culture or whatever. And then like one goth kid does something different and that's the counterculture, and they're like, no, they're a bad influence or whatever. And it's like at least in the United States, like nobody can agree on what culture is, and that the issue is the United States doesn't really have a culture anymore. It's so diverse.
Yeah.
Where like when my family came over, there were two cultures. It was the Protestant culture that came over, and then the Native
Indigenous
Americans
culture, yeah.
Well, I'm sure they had plenty of cultures within that culture, but like in the broad scope of things.
Yeah.
I want to zoom out like 500 years from now and be like, what do those people think of Christianity today? Like, do they see it as like an archaic way of thinking, or do they kind of see it as a like stepping stone? Maybe Mormonism will take over.
Oh, I hope not. Those people are freaks. But sorry, I don't mean to offend you like that.
Yeah, right. Those are my people. Did you know in the 1800s the governor of Missouri put out a kill order on Mormons?
Really?
Which is why they went to Salt Lake City. He
Dude,
literally wrote a bill that was like, yeah, you can kill them on site. That's culture. That's fucking culture.
Dude, being a part of like being a part of like growing up in a religion like that, I'm sure they talk about that shit all the time.
Oh yeah,
they talk about that shit in every single mass, every fucking single service. Like my dad is always like, yeah, they're killing Christians over somewhere in the Middle East. He like can't even name the country, but he, like they love it. They love thinking that they're persecuted.
Yeah,
and it's like, I mean the Mormon thing, they probably were actually persecuted. But
I'm sure there was one or two of them, and it was enough to make them martyrs, and then they and then they all fled. It's like,
and then they talk about it for the rest of time.
Yeah,
but 500.
Also, Salt Lake City way better than Missouri. You fucking won.
Oh, I don't know anything about either of those places. But I believe you.
Sorry, go on.
I believe you. I fucking grew up in Boston, moved to New York. That's my whole world.
That's it? Okay, all right. Cool. Well, there's other cities, and some of them have these things called mountains that are pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds kind of cool. I don't think it's as cool as Boston, though.
You just start doing a like church youth group sketch.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Is it as cool as Boston?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Anyway.
But like going out 500 years, I feel like Christianity in general has become like way more liberal in the past 100 years.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But what we're seeing right now is people who are very conservative Christians, their power is being like taken away, and so they're like lashing out and trying to hold on to it by like making it more conservative. And so there's always going to be backlash that's like trying to get it more over to the right. But I think that like if the church is going to survive, like the Christian church in general is going to survive, they have to like appeal to young people who are like more liberal, you know? And like there are like a lot of young people out there who are like mad conservative and whatever, but it's like I think like in general, like they're gonna have to like swing a little bit more liberal. And like we see in fucking New York City, like I walked here and there's like 2 churches that had like gay pride flags on them. You know what I mean? And like that's what you have to do in order to survive, because at the end of the day it's like it's a business and they have to do whatever they can to survive, you know?
That's true. Yeah. It is kind of, I guess, like, do you think part of the reason people have left the church is because the church got so liberal? Where like if I'm thinking about a church and I'm thinking about a corporation, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of going to Target or whatever. So I go to Target every single Sunday, and they have great gay pride stuff, and the church has gay pride stuff. But also like, I don't know, I could buy stuff at Target. where like
Yeah.
the super conservative churches are doing a lot of like fear mongering,
Yes.
where the liberal churches aren't, and it kind of disincentivizes people from going to church because they're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
there's nothing to be afraid of. So like, why would I go if nobody goes to hell? Like the liberal churches are
Yeah.
not like, oh, that person's going to hell. They're
Yeah.
like, well, you know, God decides, and they're so I don't know. What do you think that's part of it, or
Yeah, I think that
don't know.
liberal churches may not have the staying power. Like they don't have like they don't have like people coming back as often because they're not as rigid. And like the more conservative churches, like it's just like a more sexy idea to be like we're better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's not what the liberal churches are teaching, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like maybe like those like very conservative churches are going to live on because there's always going to be people who like have anxiety and need it to be like
Oh, yeah.
quelled by talking about how everybody else is worse than them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, I don't think like I don't know, it's hard to tell. I feel like if I was like in churches right now, I'd have a better idea about like, but I do think that like so many liberal churches are like really loosey-goosey, but I do think a huge pull for churches in general is the community.
yeah,
And so it's like if you have a community there, you're probably like less likely to like go every other week or whatever.
right? You
And
gotta play softball,
yeah, and I think that like you got to play disc golf
disc golf,
With all those-
basketball.
with all those heathen stoners
Yeah, you
with their
just
long hair.
hold your breath when you walk by them.
no.
They smell like reefer.
Reefer.
The devil's lettuce.
Reefer, dude.
Jesus.
He's such an old one. He's got a cartoon-sized doober on him.
They're gonna give some to you. You gotta say no. You can't take it.
Dude, weed is the only drug that everybody is offering you all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in like in the fucking DARE program, they're like,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna try to fucking put LSD in your Coke.
Yep. Karma's doing a bit right now where she's like, Dare didn't prepare me for younger kids giving me drugs.
Yeah, I know. And you're like,
She's like, I'm in my 30s and it's all younger people giving me
Yeah,
drugs.
yeah, yeah.
It's like supposed to be the cool 18-year-olds that are like, here, kid, try this.
yeah. And you're like, how do I reject drugs from them, but also make them think that I'm cool? Because that's
Exactly.
more important.
But this is kind of my point is like, all right, let's say one church goes fucking nuts and they're like, cool, we're smoking up in church now.
There are churches like that.
Do they get more people? Do you think people go there, or are they just kind of like, I can fucking smoke weed in my room?
Well, I think it depends on the person. I think if you like need a sense of community, if you're like a lonely person, you need like, because like this is what we were talking about before, like the Joe Rogan thing, where it's like
Yeah.
there's less religion because like, or like there's less religion, so then people get like really into astrology or Joe Rogan or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like if you're the kind of person who has like a hole that needs to be filled in your life, then like
Yeah.
you're probably more likely to like go over there. Like we're not going to go there because we have comedy. That's our religion.
Yes, that is our
Like that is
community,
literally
our
what we treat as
yeah,
our religion.
for sure.
And but do you know how many fucking people in this country like get out of work, go home, and then watch TV for 8 hours and then go to bed?
I've dated them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Why are you paying this much rent?
Yes.
To do that.
Why do you
Move
live in
to
a fucking
Montana.
city? Dude,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You
I
can
swear
watch
to
Mad
God.
Men from anywhere.
I know.
This is-
Yeah. And I'm like, stop making my fucking rent go up.
Yeah, right. Oh my god, it is like, but they live here because they're like, oh no, I like the energy, and there is kind of a community feel in cities.
Yeah, but
because
it's-
if you're going home, like they're still riding the train with people, they're still walking around, and there's other people. If they live in the middle of nowhere and they drive to work and then they drive home, like it's all them. They can't hear people outside. They can't like. So they're like microdosing community when they do
Yeah,
that.
but is that, like,
I
fulfilling
agree.
for them, really?
No, it's not.
Because
And that's
yeah,
why
it
they
seems
all
like a
leave.
facade
Right.
of community.
They get a husband or a wife, and then they end up
and then they move out.
leaving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is historically what happens in cities. Like all the New Yorkers always complain, like people from the Midwest are coming and doing all this. Like, yeah, they've been doing that the whole time.
Yeah.
It's literally what people do in cities is they move in and out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's easy, and I realized that with like my ex, like 5 or 6 years ago, she started going to church, and at the time I was way more anti-religious than I am now.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, it almost felt like why do you need church? Like, what's wrong with you? But it was a sense of community. Like, she wanted to go sing the songs. Like, she grew up going to church.
Yes.
She wanted to, and then she joined like a running group and like those little, and I didn't appreciate how much comedy was doing for me.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like, oh no, I'm doing something. This is like productive. You're just like hearing people talk about whatever. And it's like, no, once the pandemic hit, I was like, man, I don't miss telling jokes. I miss hanging out with people.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And like, and also like, oh, fuck, I was going to say something, but I forgot.
Sorry.
No. It's okay. We were talking about fucking, like going to church and whatever. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I think that like people just need to fill a hole, and like people figure out all different ways to do it. And like religion is one of those ways. And guess what? I have no fucking problem with that. If
No.
it works for you, I'm like fine with religion. I'm fine with whatever fucking religion you have. Just don't make me do it.
Well, let's bring it back to your dad to close this out.
Oh yeah, let's bring it back to old Rob.
Is it like, is what he's doing, do you think that's okay? If
No.
it is, I haven't heard his sermon. You
Yeah,
made
yeah.
it sound like it's pretty hateful.
It is.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
is that like, where is the line between like you do you and hey man, you're hurting society?
Well, okay, for my dad specifically, I think that there's a lot of people who love their religion and they get a lot out of it, and they feel like it drives their like moral being, and it's like fulfilling for them.
Yeah.
But not all of those people become pastors. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I think my
Yeah.
dad became a
They
pastor.
just go on Facebook where the reach is much bigger.
Exactly. Yeah. Or they
I'm
just
almost glad your dad has an outlet
I
to
know.
400 people and not 4 million people.
I know,
He's
yeah.
gonna show up on Fox News.
I know, seriously. No, my dad wouldn't be good in front of a camera.
Okay.
He like I
You can't
watch
do eye contact?
he's very bad at like I watch him like put it on for people.
Okay.
And it's like very transparent and weird. And maybe it's just because I'm like his daughter and I like know what he's
yeah,
like.
you know what he's doing.
But I'm like, do people think that this is what you're like? Because in my head, you're like, if somebody's gonna come in my house and rape my wife, I'm dying or I'm going to jail. All
the
right.
same thing happens with stand-up comics. Like everyone comes up, they're like, "Oh, that's how you." It's like, "Oh no, man, I'm way more chill off
Yeah, no.
than I am on stage." But
Yeah.
anyway, sorry. Like,
But I think what my dad is doing is that he has like some weird like tick where he thinks that everything that he says is right, and he needs to like control the way that other people perceive him. Like I think it's like some weird personal thing where it's like he needs to be at the top of the food chain. You know?
okay.
And he has to have people like fucking like listen to him and be like, "Oh yeah," and like he has to be the authority on something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like stand up and preaching are very similar.
very similar.
Except I'm
Like an old Chris Rock thing.
Yeah. And like I think I have that same kind of thing, but I also am not like I'm not thinking I'm better than everybody for doing it. Like I'm literally going up there and being like,
Yeah.
I'm a piece of shit.
Right.
You know? And I also don't think that my ideas are correct. I think that they're just funny. You know, whereas my dad is like, let me tell you how to do your religion and like how to behave in your like marriages and raise your kids and shit. And I'm like,
Right.
you didn't even raise your own kids.
There's more of a there's more of a seriousness to it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at an hour.
Sick.
Next episode, your dad's coming on.
Oh hell
And,
yeah! You got Rob. You got the Reverend Rob
we got
Jeffrey in here.
Reverend Rob Jeffrey. Tune in, folks. It's gonna be a wild one. I will not have a job after that. Like old radio
Dude,
announcer
he
voice. So.
will say the F slur. He will do it. He loves that.
I mean, I know a lot of people that say it, but also like,
Yeah, but my
God
dad
damn it.
says, yeah,
You got-
he says
not
it in
on
a
the
way.
podcast.
He says it like in a mean way.
Oh,
he doesn't
God.
say it in a funny way.
all right,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe that'd be too much editing.
Dude,
maybe...
fucking get those bleepers ready if you have my dad on.
So annoying to believe. Oh my God.
I know.
Anyway, where can people find you?
I have a podcast called Worthless Clowns
With Brittany Cardwell.
With Brittany Cardwell,
who was
who's a
just
former
on.
guest.
Yeah.
And you can follow me on Instagram at It's Allie O'Neill.
Awesome. Do you run a show?
I
You
run a
running a
show.
show right now?
Yeah, I run
Okay.
a show once a month. It's the last Thursday of every month. It's called NYC is Dead at the Gutter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Follow that shit.
Hell yeah. Follow me at Corey T Comedy on all social media. Come to a comedy show every single week at Ferns. You're on July 6th.
Yeah.
So if you're in town for the 4th of July, fucking come by, get tickets, say hey to both of us.
My dad's gonna be there.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do this again soon.
Yeah, yeah.